Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Sohaila Bana with West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council. Welcome to our advisory board meeting. Thank you very much. We'll start with announcements and then we'll have some discussions to learn more about local hazard mitigation plan and what the role of the community and our Fire Safe Council may be in this regard. So the first announcement I would like to make is the good news about a $10 million grant for the first Community Resiliency Center in Contra Costa County that will be in the city of Richmond. It was a community center which was being built with grants and with the help of the city and is receiving additional $10 million to make it a Community Resiliency Center. Once it's established, it's halfway built. I'll invite everyone for a tour to learn more about community resiliency centers. With that, we're gonna give the floor to John Kaufman to introduce himself and tell us about the exciting news of Wildfire Prevention Coordinating Group. John, please.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me, and we do have some good news. On the 29th of April, the coordinating group, which was in the work for about 3 years, got off the ground. This is a grassroots-inspired group that has an elected official representing now 8 different jurisdictions in the East Bay Hills, and our purpose is to work together to coordinate efforts to prevent wildfires. And Pinole is joined just at its last week's meeting, and that makes up 8 members, including the 2 counties, Alameda and Contra Costa counties, the cities of Berkeley, El Cerrito, Hayward, Oakland, Pinole, and Richmond, and the Rodeo Hercules Fire District. And tomorrow, the Kensington Fire District will be considering the MOU. So we will have 9 members, assuming Kensington joins. And we're very pleased to see this happening. The chair of the group is Sue Wengraf, who is starting with a bang. We've had a couple of meetings with her to help her get things going. And we're looking forward to getting some programs in place so that the various cities that I mentioned can all work together on programs to prevent wildfire.
Thank you very much, John. Could you add a brief history about, how long it took to get it going?
Well, yeah, as I think I've said, we've been working on this for 3 years. It started out with just about 4 of us sitting in Sue Piper's living room talking about our frustrations of making things happen. And we put together a citizens committee of various people and community organizations, including some of the fire safe councils. And then we approached elected officials and got them interested. We raised some money from various sources in the community and from the Air District, and by the way, including a grant from the AAA insurance division. And we hired a lawyer to write the MOU, and we hired Placeworks as a consultant to help herd us cats. So that's how we began, and now we're off and running.
Thank you very much. I think that history is very important to add because it shows how aware the community is, how active, individuals like yourself and many others are, and how eager to be involved they are. That's why we're having this meeting with our advisory board. That's why we would like to learn about local hazard mitigation plan. I really appreciate all the efforts. Thank you so much. And we miss Sue Piper. Next, if I could ask Chief Buckman to please provide an update. It could be brief, doesn't have to be very extensive, about the It's ongoing study on evacuation, traffic analysis, and Measure X mitigation efforts. Chief Bachman?
Sure. Can you implement or add screen sharing so I can share the map of where all the work has been applied for and where it's been completed?
Sure, let's add it. You should be able to share now.
Okay. You do you see the map pulled up?
Yes.
Okay. So this map is the activities that have been during this fiscal year for Measure X, which is July 2023 through the end of April 2024. If it's a blue dot, it's a community chipping day. If it's a green, it's evacuation route, fire trail cleanup. Orange is Firewise strategic plan projects. Low income is pink. Blue is shaded fuel breaks, and red is vegetation management. If it's got, I guess I should also add removal of dead trees. So if it's a small orange, or I'm sorry, red circle, that's a removal of a dead tree. If it's completed, then it's got a green triangle in it. If it's applied for and pending, it has a yellow triangle in it. So you can see where the applications have been submitted, what they are, and what's been approved as we kind of, we'll say, give the overview countywide of what's been completed in, we'll say, 3 months out of this fiscal year for the Measure X, $2 million that we're spending on mitigation projects. What does that breakdown look like if we, let me zoom in here a little closer. But if you look at each of the cities, you'll see, again, the yellow is applied for and the green is completed. You'll see what those numbers are. With those numbers, because I've been questioned on, well, wait a minute, how come some of our cities have lower numbers that are completed and other cities have higher numbers completed? Like, let's use Lafayette, Martinez, and Moraga. So they have 6, 8, and 7 that have been completed, very few pending. When we go over to, let's say Richmond has 24 applied and only 4 completed. We can also use El Cerrito has 8 applied for and 6 completed. Well, it also depends on how extensive or how big was the project. So example, in like Lafayette, Martinez, and Moraga, we do a lot of smaller projects that don't take us long and have a lot of lower costs associated with them. So if I scroll down here to the summary of what we've spent with the contractor, there you'll see what we've spent. We'll focus on West County, $81,000 in Crockett, $317,000 in El Cerrito, $8,000 in Kensington. Martinez, $150,000. Remember, that was a number that had a lot of projects done in it, but still half of what was done in what we spent in El Cerrito. Moraga, $32,000, and Pinole, $48,000, and Richmond, $251,000. So it gives you an idea of the million. We'll spend about 1.6, 1.7 this year, because not all of the 2 million goes towards vegetation management, because we have consulting fees for CEQA. We have some equipment rental fees. When we're doing the green waste, we're hauling off with that. So there's some other, we'll say, minor fees that come up to a couple $100,000 that are to total the 2 million. But contracted work will estimate at about 1.6, and we're on track to spend that full amount. You got to remember, this stopped in, or this report is as of the end of April. When we go back here to this portion of it, it tells you by breakdown and color the application type of what's been submitted. You'll notice that in Richmond, it's mostly been vegetation management and fuel reduction. Those are usually bigger projects. Evacuation route cleanup and shipping days are probably the easiest, usually 1 or 2 day projects. Shipping days are usually always a 1 day project. So the blue requests are always the easiest to accomplish and the least expensive. Because that has a lot of buy-in, that it's the community is out doing the work and they're requesting a contractor or crew 12 to come along, pick up all the waste, chip it, and haul it off. Hope this map and kind of overview of what we've spent, where the work's been done and how it's been applied for, provides a good summary to what we've done with the wildfire mitigation program that's being funded by Measure X.
Thank you very much. It does. And any update on the evacuation traffic analysis?
So we have not proceeded forward with that because it's we keep hearing that we believe that countywide grant is looking positive. We're probably gonna be successful with it, so we don't want to break that off. If we're not awarded that grant, then we will proceed with doing one in West County. But if we are, then we want to be collaborative and have it under one study, not two separate studies.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Chief,
Sharing.
thank you. And if you could email those slides with me, I'll share some of that information with the community as well.
Okay.
Chief Smith, if you could provide a very brief update on CERT program or other wildfire mitigation community preparedness going on, we would appreciate it.
Yes, as far as our CERT program, we have, I believe we have 20 students. Today is this Thursday, we'll make week 7. Next week is week 8. They will complete their training and have an exercise, and we'll have graduation. We will have completed the CERT training for the spring. We are hoping to be able to have another academy in the fall, but depending on workload and our resources, we're looking at that. But guaranteed, we'll have a CERT academy every spring. That's a guarantee.
Thank you.
Okay, and our WUI work. Let me see what. As far as the Measure X wildland mitigation program, we submitted 24 applications, which was shown on the chart that Chief Bachman showed up. Provided 4 applications are currently completed, and the others are in varying states of approval. And what we submitted was vegetation management, fuel reduction, community shipping days, firewire strategic plan projects, and removal of dead trees. A lot of that Chief Bachman has already shown us in the graphs.
Thank you. And if you could provide an update on Hilltop Green fuel reduction, if it's going to be done by the city in collaboration with Measure X.
Well, that's what we're looking at that now. So
Okay.
I don't have a
Very
report on that.
We'll put it off for the next agenda. Thank you very much. That being
So he looked at it. Could I add? So we did complete the evacuation route cleanup along the main thoroughfare that runs in to Hilltop Green subdivision, all the way up to the point that they had requested, I think, that secondary access road to come through into that mall from that location of that road all the way out to the main entrance. The contractor was there almost a week and went around the park, the area by the pool, and did evacuation route cleanup an entire week, focusing on making sure that's a really wide road, but making sure that everything's limbed back, cut up, and then all on the ditches, they've removed all that exterior hazard to provide a safe evacuation route, since there is only one way in and out of that community.
excellent.
And that was completed about 3 weeks ago.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the update. Thank you. I would like to provide some brief updates about community warning system that we are still looking into this. We strongly believe there are issues with it, and just wanted to let you know it's ongoing, no results yet, but we're working on it. I was invited along with other council members to a spill drill by Phillips 66. I found it very, very informative. and Richard Diaz from the Office of Emergency Services in the city of Richmond was there. I think it was very useful, and I hope that other refineries invite their city council members so we are more informed and we can inform the public as well. And I'm sorry to say that we have not received any response from PG&E yet regarding our concerns for their equipment safety, and it's been over a year since we shared our concerns. No response yet. Any other announcements that is not on the agenda? Anybody wants to make? Okay. We'll move to our new business, and the focus of the meeting today is local hazard mitigation plan. We, as a Fire Safe Council, honestly, we're a bit surprised that we were not involved in the process. We were not mentioned in the document, and for the first time, FEMA's asking local agencies to reach out to the public and get public input. And we believe we are the strong link with the community and best suited to provide that feedback, but we don't know much about it, so hence this meeting. And you're looking to information from you. I would like to thank the county manager of Office of Emergency Services, Rick Kovar, and I would like to ask him to start because FEMA informed us this morning that they would not be able to participate. We'll try to include them in future meetings or try to obtain information from them why for the first time community's input is so important to them. Thank you, Rick. Go ahead, please. Is this Rick?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Just before I was going to do this, my computer crapped out, so I had to reboot. Can you guys see the presentation?
Yeah.
Should be full screen local hazard mitigation plan.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come speak with this group regarding the local hazard mitigation plan. Just a little bit of background on the plan itself. So this is a county-wide plan. That includes 16 cities and 24 special districts. The idea of this plan, so just to be clear, what we're getting some feedback on other presentations we're doing. This is not a preparedness plan. This isn't something that's going to show either the government agencies, jurisdictions, or the public how to respond to and be better prepared for disasters. Truly, the definition of mitigation is looking at impacts and coming up with potential solutions to minimize the impacts of disasters. So that's what this plan is. It is a federal planning document, but our plan is specifically to Contra Costa County. So there's a couple of ways that we can do this plan, but traditionally we've done what's called a multi-jurisdiction plan. So there are opportunities. Cities and special districts can have their own local hazard mitigation plan, or they can link up and be part of the countywide multi-jurisdiction plan. So for this plan, we have, as I mentioned, 16 cities and about 24 special districts that are part of this plan. So we have to update it every 5 years. So the last one we did was in 2018, and we are now updating that plan today. So there've been a lot of changes, but first let's talk about the coordination as far as who's involved and why. So it was opened up to any and all jurisdictions that wanted to participate. We received grant funding from FEMA to hire a contractor that's helping us put this plan together. So we've had a few agencies and jurisdictions drop out in the process because it is pretty time consuming and requires a lot of extra lift from each jurisdiction that's part of this plan. And the goal here is to update the 5-year plan and look at new hazards and develop mitigation strategies for existing and new hazards. So we'll talk a little bit about what those are. Just to give some context, just in 2023, this map of the US that you're looking at, these are billion-dollar events, natural hazard events throughout the country. So you're looking, it's pretty impactful. Obviously, California, we had the winter storms at the beginning of January. Luckily, our fire season was milder in 2023, but you see the hazards across the country. What we know is the impacts of these natural hazards, these weather-related events, are increasing not only in numbers, but also in complexity and size. So what we used to call things like mega fires, they're now redefining certain fires to be called gigafires. So just the world of disaster response is evolving pretty much faster than we can keep up with. But the importance of having a mitigation plan and an approved one allows us to seek out more and additional funding to develop mitigation strategies. And so that's what this plan's all about, is identifying and developing strategies for us to go out and seek that funding to be a little bit more disaster resilient for the future disasters. So throughout the process, we identified a number of hazards that impact the county. So just to take a little bit of level setting, FEMA does not require us to, in this plan, to do any hazards other than natural hazards. Their requirement is you have to identify all of your natural hazards. It's not that they don't care about human caused or technological disasters. It's just that this plan traditionally is to mitigate natural disasters. But in our plan, we've added human caused and technological hazards. So you see on this slide, climate change, which is new. We did not have that 5 years ago as an impact to the community. Dam and levee failure, drought, earthquake, flood, landslides, sea level rise, which is another new one, severe weather, and tsunami and wildfire. So the three highest impact disasters that we're at highest risk for are earthquakes, landslides, and wildfires. So that earthquake and landslides haven't changed a lot. In 2018, wildfires was 5 or 7 in our list of potential impacts to the county. So within 5 years, the impact of fire on our community has grown exponentially. So it's now up basically in the top 3. So I've highlighted those in red just to show you. When we look at each of these 16 cities and 20 special districts, there are different disaster impacts. So each of those annexes to the plan may have their top 3 different than what the county-wide is. So like communities that are right along the water have a higher risk of sea level rise, higher risk of tsunami, and other things. So as you look through the different annexes, you'll see that there may be different levels of natural hazard ranking. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's really going down to the micro community to determine what the highest threats are to those communities. I know I'm talking fast. Any questions so far on what I'm presenting?
Seems like not yet.
Sounds good. So just to, one of the things we have to do in our plan, in all the annexes for those 16 cities and 20 special districts, is come up with mitigation actions. And so these are our strategies and ideas on how we can minimize the impact of certain things. And so this slide just shows you we have 25 mitigation actions for climate change. We have 21 dam and levee mitigation strategies, 21 droughts. So this just gives you an idea of where you can see we've put some time and energy. When I say we, are contractors and the locals who these jurisdictions are impacted on. So just to give you an idea, one of the things that we're here today to talk to you about is asking for the community's help to review the plan and give us feedback. So I'll be talking about that in a minute. But first, since we're talking about disasters, this is our soapbox, as emergency managers, to remind the community that not only is this mitigation plan important for us to be better prepared, but we also think that as a individual, as a resident in the community, you also have a need to prepare for disasters. This is a group, I know you guys are already probably more focused on disaster response and preparation and resiliency than most other communities, just by the nature of this Fire Safe Council. But we just want to remind you that, part of this plan will help you learn the hazards. We want you to, think about in your community, in your neighborhood, what you need to do and prepare for. Obviously, wildfire is a big one that you're concerned with. But what do you do in that wildfire comes, have a plan to, have a kit to take care of yourself, know how to get out of your community, and then practice with your family that plan. And so this is not part of the local hazard mitigation plan. You won't see anything in there, but just anytime we get in front of the public, we want to remind that not only is government responsible for helping in disasters, you also need to help yourselves and your families get through these disasters. So with that, what we're asking for is there's a QR code here. We will take you to the plan. The website, the Contra Costa County website, we have a whole section on local hazard mitigation plan. So if you go in there, you can see we have the county plan and we have each of the special districts in each of the city jurisdictions annexed drafts there. So if you live in a certain city and want to see what they're doing, by all means, you can go and look at that piece of the plan. And then you have an opportunity once you've gone through it to comment on it. So we're not going to be able to change the mitigation strategies for this round, meaning what we're going to try and get to FEMA this summer to approve. But this is a living plan, and we now, some of the FEMA requirements, this is the first time that we've had to take this plan to the public and ask for public comment on the plan. And we have to do that annually now. So it being a living plan, if there's good ideas that are brought to us, we can add that next year when we're doing our annual review of this plan. So I can't guarantee we'll get it in today, but if you give us that information in this evaluation process, we'll certainly look at it and review it for potential for the update coming up. So if you can't scan this, just Google Contra Costa Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, and it'll take you to the county website with all of these documents on it. Also with a link to be able to put in any comments of your review. It's a pretty straightforward process, but I do have to say that our plan, just the county plan, is 400 pages, and with 40 other annexes, there's a lot of reading if you're a thorough person and want to see every jurisdiction's approach to hazard mitigation. So with that, I know it's a high level overview. Just to wrap up, why are we doing a hazard mitigation plan? It's important for us to do because it allows us to qualify for a variety of federal grants. So pre-disaster mitigation funds, there's a couple of federal grants out there for pre-disaster hazard mitigation. There's also the BRIC grant, which is building resilient infrastructure in your communities. So without an improved plan, we can't even apply for those grants. And then post-disaster, there's a couple of grants that we won't qualify for, specifically post-fire FMAG, which is fire mitigation assistance grants. If we don't have a approved hazard mitigation plan, we can't get funding for that. So it's important to have this plan where our goal is to get this to FEMA this summer and get it approved so we can start applying for the next round. When I say we, the county and the cities can start applying for these grants this fall. So that's where we are today.
Thank you very much, Rick. I really appreciate the presentation. However, if you could over one of, just for example, one mitigation with regards to wildfire, we appreciate it. That the goal of this meeting is for the community to learn how to review this and how to provide feedback. I know how to provide feedback. It's easy. You fill out the form. But how do we review it? What do we look at? If you could just show an example or two, a wildfire mitigation, for example, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going to take me a minute to dig into the plan. If you want to do it that way, I can stop sharing this and pull up the plan. There are just in the county plan, there are somewhere around 60 mitigation strategies. So I'd have to dig through those. On the top of my head, I don't have them memorized. But if you want to give me a minute, I can do that.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. And while you're digging that data, Michelle, go ahead, please.
Hi, so thank you, Sohila, for giving me the opportunity to partner with County OES on this topic, specifically for wildfire. To answer your question, for the Confire Annex document, page 21 of our Annex document addresses the fire department mitigation actions, goals and objectives, and lays it out in a very clear and forward way. And again, that's where I would start. If I was a person trying to understand this document, I would start with the graph pages, layout in landscape format on page 21. That will detail for you what we are doing as from a fire perspective to best prepare our infrastructure in the pre, during, and post-disaster phases. I'd like to also just say quickly, if a resident experiences challenges in engaging with technology, they can call on the county to support them in that process. Their number is 925-655-0100 to provide that phone feedback. Also, if anyone wants to review the plan in person, we have a copy at our Confire administrative offices at 4005 Port Chicago Highway. If a resident arrives in the lobby and has some feedback, the staff there will reach out to me, and I am happy to enter that information into the survey. Secondly, thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate the support. This is a perfect example of the collaborative effort between the county and the special districts or cities. As we go through this process, we're working really well together. We're addressing individual mitigation groups, or from the Confire's perspective, interacting with our strategic partners within the community, such as the West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council, bringing this information to you firsthand, but also with residents through small community meetings throughout the county to further engage the residents. Just a brief overview. Why this information is important and what we're looking at from a infrastructure perspective. Confire experienced a 33% increase in call volume between 2021 and 2023, and this trend is expected to continue. Approximately 46% of our calls were directly related to rescue and EMS. So when we looked at the data and how researchers were looking at this, the Association of Bay Area Governments, or ABAG, conducted a long-term forecast of our population growth here in Contra Costa and told us that we will be experiencing a 9% increase in population in the coming decades through 2040. This translates to over 700,000 new residents per decade.
I'm sorry, Michelle, I really appreciate it, but let's give Rick a minute. Confire will have a chance to talk about their local hazard mitigation or share of hazard mitigation plan. Is that okay to give Rick a chance to bring up a couple?
Of course, I thought Rick was done. I'm sorry.
No,
I'll hand
thank you
back.
very much.
I will pass
Rick.
forward to Rick.
Okay, Rick, go ahead, please.
Thanks. Can you see, I pulled up the county's mitigation plan. Do you see
Yes.
that?
Uh-huh.
So when you go to if you go to the Contra Costa County website, I'll back up here for a second. So you'll see the local hazard mitigation plan page, a list of some of our outreach events coming up, and then you scroll down. So you see here, we've got cities and towns and special districts. So clicking on the Contra Costa County Volume 1 Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, it pulls you up here. I'll just quickly, I don't want to bore you with going through all 395 pages, but the table of contents is very easy to use. If there's something you're interested in, you can just click on the specific topic. I'm going to your question about some mitigation strategy. I will say Contra Costa Fire has more fire-related mitigation strategies in their annex, but to just pull up an example for us, going down near the end, bottom third of the plan, you'll see a list of the mitigation strategies. So I just went to one here on page 248. So this is an example of a mitigation strategy. So mitigation action, enhance county ordinance code language and enforcement, including but not limited to county zoning codes to increase compliance with defensible space and other fire safe requirements in unincorporated counties. So that's a high level. Like I said, there's 61 plus of these. So this just gives you an example what the goal is. The hazard mitigated is wildfire, in progress, in work is the project status, and then who's the responsible agency. So in this case, it's Department of Conservation and Development, which is the county planning department. So this just gives you an idea of what that looks like. So when we say review the plan, this is where you can come through and look at these mitigation actions and see what's there, and then maybe come up with the strategy you as a community member might have. Hey, this isn't in here. How about doing this? And so that's when you go to that site to give us that background. And Jen, feel free to jump in if I've missed anything.
You're doing great, Rick.
So
Go ahead, Jennifer. I didn't mean to interrupt. I have a question about mitigation action. So does it mean within the next 5 years until the next plan is due, these actions will be done, but the actions are vague? And I mean, are we supposed to provide feedback? Because these are too general. There is nothing specific to them.
So,
What
I
type of
can't.
feedback do you expect from us?
So feedback would be, in your community, so Fire Safe Council, you mentioned you're not on this plan, but if you have specific mitigation actions that you think, as a community, we can put that under the county plan. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Fire Safe Council. So that's what we're looking for, is adding things that are near and dear to your hearts. Yeah, none of these actions, these are aspirational. They're not, there's not a requirement that they're done within 5 years. What FEMA wants us to do is identify, that you have things to work on, tell us what those are, and that you have a pathway when you're coming to ask us for funding. What does that pathway look like? So it's not going to say San Pablo between Main Street and 4th Street will be widened by 14 lanes to ensure evacuation of that neighborhood. It'll say, in the area, in this area, in the community of San Pablo, enhance the ability for roadways to efficiently evacuate people. So it won't have specifics. That's really, I don't want to say, I should say that's a planning and public works specific, action to take to make that happen. So nothing here, there's not a timeline. So in 5 years, well, it'll be in 3 years when we start updating it. FEMA's not going to say, you didn't do this, so we're going to punish you for it. But they are going to ask us annually, okay, you gave us these mitigation strategies. Where are you? As of next year, we have to show that has any action taken, or some action, or no action. But that also helps us understand, it's not easy to write these, with a plan in 5 years, what that's going to look like. Strategies may change. So that's why we were now annually updating it, is because this is a living document, and this may not, what's here today may not be appropriate once we start putting, brains to the problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Marilyn, go ahead, please.
Maybe this isn't quite pertinent, but I'm trying to understand. You were talking about updating zoning codes. And what I really think we need is building codes. But when you talk about zoning codes, are you including building codes?
So I
don't know what you mean by that.
So I can't answer that. I'm not a building or zone code expert. So I'm facilitating the planning. I'm not deep in the weeds on the specific around that. I don't want to put Maureen on the spot, but as she represents conservation development, she might be able to answer that better.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I'm wearing my Pinole hat today, but yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. The county is working on its general plan, and you'll find that general plan under Envision Contra Costa 2040.org. And these mitigation measures for unincorporated county were taken directly out of that plan. So in the safety element of that plan, there are more details about, the implementation priority of all of the mitigation measures that were submitted for unincorporated county. I don't have those at the, at my fingertips, but that's where they came from.
Okay.
And-
Sorry,
So it
which
really is
document
zoning.
is that? Maureen, sorry for
sorry.
interruption.
I'm sorry, there were two people talking. I didn't catch
Yeah.
that.
You mentioned the safety element that has more details. What document is that?
The draft county general plan that can be
Got
found
it. I
at
remember,
Envision
yeah.
Contra Costa.
Chapter 9, yes.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay. Marilyn, go ahead.
Maureen, I dropped it for you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that clearly what they mean is zoning. So now I know what public comment I'm going to put in there.
That was going to follow up with that, is that's why we want public comment, is, you might see things from a different angle than, what our people who put this together see. So that's appreciated.
Very good. I have one more question, but I'd like to see if others have any questions so far. Anyone? Any questions for Rick or Maureen or Jennifer? Okay. My question is, somewhere in the document, it's referring to volume 2 that has the mitigations. Is that true? And what is volume 2 and is it going to be published?
So volume 2 is going to be all of the cities and special district annexes. So I just backed up here. So if you look at this website, so county is volume 1, and
Got
then
it.
volume 2 is going to have all of the cities and special districts as that piece.
Excellent. And
So
that's,
you are looking at volume 2. It just doesn't say that here.
thank you. That's the next part. So, but before we move on, I would like to ask, how come we, the Fire Safe Councils, we're not included? We have West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council, Orinda's having a Fire Safe Council. They have representatives today. El Cerrito does. We have Diablo Fire Safe Council. We were not involved in the process and we were not even actively requested for feedback. May I ask why?
It could be an oversight. We did a pretty extensive reach out to all jurisdictions that we have in our, Rolodexes and we have fire departments involved in this. So that's, I'll take that as feedback for next time around, to make sure that make sure that you guys are included in that.
Thank you. Yeah, please include us and I'll be happy to provide you contact info for all the fire safe councils in the area. We appreciate the opportunity for collaboration. It's very important. Thanks a lot. Any more questions?
Michelle had a question.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out, so Hilo, last week I did present the public comment period to the West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council. I have other fire
Thank
safe
you.
councils in which I'm presenting to during this public comment period. So as in the role of county coordinator assigned by the leadership of Fire, yes, fire safe councils are being engaged in this process. And Rick, I'll have a list of all of the engagement over to you along with proof for FEMA to meet the requirements.
Yeah, we thank Fire for reaching out. However, we were not involved in the process. We were not, in the documentation process or the whole thing. Okay, but we do appreciate your presence here actually, and you're engaging with us and educating us about how to provide feedback. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. So anything else, Rick or Jennifer or Maureen, you would like to add before we move to Fire's share and ask them for an example of their mitigation?
No, appreciate everyone's help. I will say, I know Ms. Bonna, we talked a week or two ago, and we will get the flyers out to you. We do have information on the plan. We've got it translated it's in English, Spanish, Tagalog, simplified traditional Chinese. So we're trying to reach out to the majority of our community members to have them engaged in it, at least in their languages too. So if there's any groups here that want those documents, just shoot me an email or my team an email and we can get those out to you. So I'll get that stuff to you this week sometime. We just got them back from the printers.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Rick, I have a stack of them that I can get out to folks in West County if they're interested. They're left over from the mayor's conference.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So let's move to the County Office of Emergency Services and their share of the hazard mitigation plan. If Chief Bachman or Michelle Reinhardt, please could provide an example or two of their mitigation, we would appreciate it. As far as I remember, actually, it was just limited to the fire stations. Was that the case? Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, Rick, if I could share my screen, if you could stop sharing. Great, so thank you so much. So as I mentioned, starting on page 21, you'll see these various mitigation actions. This information is helpful because we're able to identify the mitigation action that part of the plan is addressing. So where we list the action of improving or expanding new programs, the wildfire mitigation program would be one of those programs. So engaging with the wildfire mitigation program through chipping day events, evacuation route cleanups, focusing on things to reduce overall fuels prior to that disaster, looking at those fundings, and you'll see that fire safe councils are listed as a supporting agency. We're looking at local budgeted funds, utilizing Measure X funds to support that on a long-term basis. As we know, Measure X was a taxpayer-approved infrastructure bill that allows us to have a 20-year half-cent sales tax to support that program. So looking at vegetation management, this would be one way that we're reducing the fuels, so lessening the impact of wildfire on our communities. And then utilizing another area through actively participating in the plan, identifying all of those hazards that we would look to mitigate, and then moving on to the retrofitting or relocation of structures in high hazard areas. So addressing things like earthquake, flood, landslide, things where federal grants will either provide a preparation funding during a PSPSC event, let's say, or in the recovery or disaster recovery period. So these are areas in which we are outlining, and while they may not be articulated specifically, by identifying them now, it prepares us for applying for federal monies to support the community in a more wholesome way. You'll see that the CWPP is also part of when we talked about other plans and how it may be more specifically outlined. So the CWPP may very well carry more information that is specific to a fire safe council and our wildfire concerns. And of course, once we locate funds to support that process, we would of course engage the fire safe councils early to receive input. And then participate in annual multi-agency wildfire training. So providing training to our firefighters pre-disaster so they can manage that disaster and then the recovery efforts on a short, mid, and long-term basis.
Thank you. And if I could provide the feedback is in the future, we hope that Contra and Measure X considers providing budget to fire safe councils to distribute to community members and residents for home hardening, vegetation management, etc. It has never been considered, but we strongly believe we are that link to the community that needs to be strengthened and supported. So I don't know if it goes into this plan or other places, or if you could advise us on how to properly make that request to the right officials. We appreciate that.
Right. So one example of that, Ms. Bono, would be the low income exterior hazard control program. And that offers, it's now available on our website. So it does offer $1,500 to address Zone 0 defensible space projects. Zone 0, as we all know, is that 0 to 5 foot area around a structure or home. And it does require last year's tax return.
I understand and appreciate it, but I meant giving budget to us, fire safe councils, to decide how to spend it in the community. We have our own projects defined that are not necessarily the same that your office recognizes as the best solutions.
Right, and locating the ongoing funding to allow that capacity to increase within your fire safe council is a priority of mine.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and let's work on that together. We really need the budget to support the community members. So we're getting to the end of it. If I could, end of our time, we only have 8 more minutes left. If I could ask Chief Smith to please provide some examples of the mitigation for Richmond Hazard Mitigation Plan. Chief Smith, I hope you're still here.
Yes, I'm still here.
Excellent. So if you could share your screen if you wish, and if you could provide some examples of mitigation with regards to Richmond Hazard Mitigation Plan and Wildfire. We appreciate that.
Okay, I don't have a screen to share. But what we're working on is vegetation management and fuel reduction. We're working with the community on the chipping days. Removal of dead trees. And that's basically what we're focused on right now.
That's in collaboration with Measure X Mitigation Services or?
Yes. In collaboration with Measure X, yes.
Okay, so you're basically facilitating what Measure X is providing, but is the city working with its own public works department to provide further services?
Yeah, that's a good point. We are working in conjunction with Public Works, where their crews work with ours to, provide the mitigation services that they're able to provide.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that. Any questions for anyone at this point regarding what was presented for local hazard mitigation plans? Okay, seems like none. We have a few more minutes, and if I could get Marianne, go ahead. Marianne Williams? You can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, as a community member, I find this whole presentation extremely helpful. But I suspect I am one of very few in the community who is aware that any of this is being done. And I'm trying to think of the actual example of when an emergency might happen and how the general public will know what to do. I know this is all a work in progress, but for example, the short and long-term goals, can you identify a little bit more specifically what is short-term, like in how many years or months or what, and what is long-term in the plan?
I can speak to the Confire Annex document. So we treat this as a living document, but it should be adopted by local government every 5 years.
How do we know what their priorities are? What are they working on? And what has actually been done?
So from a Confire perspective, you can absolutely visit our website. We can have a conversation offline if you need to, if you feel that would be beneficial, or I could do a presentation for our wildfire mitigation program to your community. I could meet with a small group of residents to engage you to understand how to lower your fuels within your community, addressing that zone 0 defensible space area, and present some home hardening options for you. Low cost, high result initiatives to decrease your fuels.
Thank you. Will we get some sort of information on specific actions that have been done and how much money was spent on that?
Are you speaking directly to Measure X?
Yes.
Okay. The Measure X summary was given at the early part of this meeting by Chief Bachman. And then the summary I can provide to you again by email. So Hila, if you have Marianne's email, I'd be happy to share that information with her.
Oh, I was there at the beginning, I thought, but I didn't hear specific amounts like $10,000 spent on such a community for such a project, and this was done. Is that too much?
No, I'll try to work with Michelle to provide more specific information for our community. I'll talk to Michelle about it. I think it's very important for the community to be aware of what's being done, and Measure X has done a lot or is planning to do a lot more. I'll keep the community posted, including yourself, Marianne. Thanks for the
It will give us information on what we can expect to get done in the future. I'm not questioning what you're doing, but just as information. Thank you.
I agree. And I would like to follow up on Marianne's question, a question for Rick and Michelle and Chief Smith regarding community preparedness. Is it an element for mitigation? Any budget allocated, any specific, because we fire safe councils emphasize on community preparedness. If you could update us on that, please.
We
So
do,
I think it's a great question. So there are some mitigation strategies about enhancing community outreach and, through certain other programs. I just will tell you, I have zero Measure X funding. The Office of Emergency Services has no budget or staffing to do outreach. So that's a goal, but there is nothing budgeted today to do that. And it's absolutely vital and legislatively required. But today, I can't give you an answer on what we're doing with that as a county emergency management organization.
Rick, please, let's work offline. It's very important. I thought we fire safe councils don't get budget, but seems like you're not getting any budget either. That's very important because I wanted to ask actually about emergency communication budget as well. If we get any of that, I'll let Marilyn ask her question before I ask mine. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Well, it is following on this, and I guess it could go into the public comment, but I've become aware of how isolated portions of our community would be in an earthquake situation, which would be part of this community preparedness, and it should be in the mitigation plan. And I don't see much attention really paid to anything along that lines. I'm just saying it seems absent. And I don't see attention paid to synergistic issues because we all know wildfires are going to be, and exploding gas lines in our case out this way are all going to be a result of an earthquake here. So I just wanted to mention, it seems like that's a viewpoint that is completely missing at the moment, is the synergistic disaster issue.
Well, I 100% agree. Again, without staffing and funding, this is about as much outreach that we're able to do as a county emergency management organization. But I agree, we need to do more.
and on page 10 of our annex document, you can review the number of public safety and emergency information resources that Confire offers through our public education unit.
Thank you, Michelle. Chief Smith, would you like to add anything regarding community preparedness and emergency communication?
Yes, I would like to point people towards our website. Go to City of Richmond, ci.richmond.ca.us. Go to the fire department, and we have information under our Fire Prevention Bureau on preparedness, for various situations, because a lot of what the public needs to be prepared for can all be done at the same time. We recommend that you have a supply of food, supply of water, have your medications, and be prepared to take care of yourself for at least 72 hours. Because, there are only 7 stations in the city of Richmond that have to take care of the whole city. So we won't be able to get to everybody at the same time, or some people we won't get to for maybe 72 hours or more. But a lot of that information is on our website on how to prepare for wildland, home hardening, and preparing for earthquakes and other natural disasters.
Thank you. Chief Bachman, please.
Yes, two things. One, I'd like to thank anyone on this call that participated in the open house and town hall meeting that we had at Pinole Fire Station 73 over the weekend. It was very well attended, and we had over 200 people in attendance. We did record the presentation on how to be prepared for the 2024 wildfire season. Covered everything from making sure you're signed up for CWS and alerts. We talked about Genesis, making sure you know your zone, defensible space. It's about an hour presentation. We did record it through Contra Costa County TV, and we will be uploading that link to our site. When we get that, I'll be happy to share that link with the West County Fire Safe Council as well. So you can share it with members in case you didn't attend that, because we did gear it specifically towards West County and our cities that Confire protects. We also talk about the partnerships that we have created and maintain with the neighboring fire departments and our cities throughout West County. So I think that our presentation would be worth watching if you missed it. If you did come out, thank you for your support and attendance.
Thank you very much. Yes, please share it with me and I'll share with the community. We are at the end of the meeting time. Thank you for joining us, David. I thanked Phillips 66 at the beginning for the excellent drill and safety measures. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it. If you look at the map behind me, that's wildfire areas. The red line is Hayward Fault. Thank you, Joe, for including a video in the chat about that. And the other lines are PG&E gas lines, major lines crisscrossing I-80 and going under the city of Richmond. So we'll be active in providing feedback to hazard mitigation plans at all levels. Really appreciate this and see you all in 3 months. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.